That was a up for me. That was a big lesson learnt. Then there was the opportunity to get him back, and I hadn't spoken to Shaun from the minute we said it's over. And so I rang Shaun and he answered the phone, and I just said, mate, I'm just going to start by saying sorry.
How many times have you told this story, and has it ever been fully really told?
No, it was 1,038 days. We were away from Mount Smart. The world was shut down. The club's bleeding money, it ripped our team apart. I remember Roger, Tuivasa-Sheck, he left when his young fella was just in his arms, not long born, come back and didn't even know who his dad was, because he'd grown and Roger hadn't been around. So there's a lot of stories like that haunt me, haunt us.
The Warriors were sold out 5 months in advance of the first home game.
I thought we'd lost a bit of a generation of fans, not only through COVID, just through poor performance and the like. So I spoke to the staff around, let's go after every 16 and below in New Zealand and make them New Zealand Warriors fans.
Is this our year?
Mate, every year we go into this conversation with the press, with the media, with the fans. I genuinely feel we are ready for it.
This week on Between Two Beers, we talk to Cameron George.
Cameron is the CEO of the Warriors and one of the most respected leaders in New Zealand sport. Since taking the top job in 2017, he's led the club through some incredibly challenging years, and after you listen to this, you'll understand why he's held in such high regard.
Cameron also has a rich history in horse racing, where he was chair of NZ Thoroughbred Racing for 4 years and CEO of the Auckland Racing Club for 5, and we cover it all.
This was such a cool chat featuring some incredible Warriors stories that have never been told before. This episode of Between Two Beers is brought to you by TAB. If you like a bit more action in your sports and racing, TAB has you covered. Build same-game multis on your favourite sports by combining multiple bets into one big bet. And with same race multis, you can pick multiple horses to win or place in the same race. Bigger odds, bigger payouts, bigger excitement with TAB. Download the TAB app or visit tab.co.nz to get your bet on. R18, bet responsibly.
And Steve and I are also stoked to now be in partnership and dressed by Barkers. Check out their range at barkersonline.co.nz. Enjoy.
Cameron George, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here. Been big fans for a while. Pretty special place, this, isn't it? Yeah, it's cool. I really appreciate being here.
Oh, we're so stoked that you've come down, experienced the Hamilton studio and office. It's been a big week for you. Last weekend, your horse, Dream Rocker, won the Karaka Million's 2-year-old race. And you're on record, I saw an interview afterwards, saying you thought the feeling would be on a par with winning an NRL premiership. Is that accurate?
Yeah, look, it was really special. To win that big race, and I've been lucky enough to win it a couple of times before, and it's just great because you've got great friends, and it's the pinnacle of racing when you win those big type of races, and for me in footy, that's the dream, win that premiership for New Zealand, and I feel like when you in two different sports, when you can win the biggest trophy there is. It's pretty special, and so I'm just hanging out for that NRL one, mate. I can't wait.
How does a big race day like that compare with like a finals game at home? Are the nerves the same?
Similar. Look, to be honest, footy, it's a whole different level because 24/7 how much work goes into it. Through so many people, you represent so many people across the country and in Australia and further abroad as fans, and how much blood, sweat and tears goes into it from an organisation. So it means a hell of a lot to a lot of people where with a horse, there might only be 4 or 5 years or 10 years, in our case 20, 30 people that you represent. So everyone else really doesn't have that emotional connection to your horse, where in footy everyone wants the Warriors to win, and so you feel that pressure a bit more.
I'm interested in the seconds or the minutes after your horse wins.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you're all there together. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, this one was quite special because I got the horse last year at the sales with Liam Birchley that trains the horse, and I said I'll get some people from Australia to get into it because the horse is back in Brisbane being trained there, and I approached a family that got me into racing, the Doherty family, and cut a long story short, their sons got involved, and their father, Jim, who's been very instrumental in my career. They all got into the horse, and my brother as well. And, to have them all come over for that race and experience New Zealand racing at its best, and, they hear me talk about it all the time, and they watch all my horses race on TV in Australia all the time, but to have them all come over, their kids and all that, was just unreal. And that moment after the race where I felt like I'd given them something back, for their families was quite cool, by introducing them into, twisting their arm to get into this horse, and for that horse to go and win $1 million race was great, and a great family memory for us and friends and so on. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I've never experienced the euphoria of a horse winning $1 million race, but I imagine that minute
we should get one. We should get into one.
Yeah, it's just got to be up there.
I can help you.
Very good.
No, we'll get you into Tiako racing. They're the best, so they'll help you.
And do the celebrations go long into the night?
Yeah, well, that's when it just starts. You drink before the race to calm the nerves down, and then you drink after the race to celebrate, and or you drink after the race to commiserate. So it's just a great day. It's a great atmosphere. It's great fun. That Karaka meeting is the best. And we kicked on back to full-time sports bar with everyone, and it was great fun. So I really, really enjoyed the day.
And that's your third win? Is that some sort of New Zealand record?
Well, I'm having this debate with Sir Brendan Lindsay, who owns Cambridge Stud. He's won 3, but he's won it with the same horse twice, and I've won it with 3 individual horses. So I reckon I've got him on that account. So, it's up there, and it's a real privilege. It's hard to do, but I've just been lucky. So hopefully I can get a horse now for next year's race and see how we go.
It's a strong start, Steve, because we've covered off in that opening story racing, rugby league, and family, which I think are 3 kind of pillars to the Cameron George story.
Yeah, a lot of ground to cover. The CEO job is mostly quite serious, but we've got it on good authority that there's a fair few gags in there too. And we wanted to start by talking about what it means to be camoed. Your contacts have been very forthcoming here, so there's a few to work through. But one of the favourites seems to be the happy birthday gag on a plane. Are you able to shed any light on this one?
Yeah, I think, I didn't get to become a CEO of a racing club or footy club by being a corporate, serious person. I did it my way, and importantly for me, I want to stay doing it my way. And a lot of that's having fun with your friends and staff. And I classify the staff as friends. You want to treat them as family and friends. And so we do have a lot of fun, and we travel a lot, and you've got to have fun. And Webby's he's a big driver of that as well. And so from the minute you get to the airport to the minute, probably the serious part is when you get to the ground and you got to win a game of footy. But we have a hell of a lot of fun, and we're all got a responsibility of creating that. And I always, throw someone's name up as a birthday on the plane and embarrass someone from a fake age. And you got to be careful that because we travel so often, it's not the same person with the same air hostess that catches me out by bullshitting to him. And so I did Stacey Jones last week, Cameron. He's not birthday again this week.
Well, I heard he had 4 birthdays in 1 month once.
Yeah. Laurie Hale, our champion man that looks after all the gear and everything, he had about 25 birthdays one year, and he actually pulled me aside and said, no more, eh? And
that's enough.
But we had a lot of fun, and in the office with the office staff as well, it's really important that they feel they belong and have fun, and they can equally take the piss out of me, and that to me is that connection bit.
Don't leave your laptop open with the email inbox, like we've heard as well, because cookie orders and all sorts get thrown that way.
Silly people leave their laptops open and go walkabout, and ironically, someone sends an email out requesting that they come and see that particular person to put their order in for, leftover jumpers or socks or whatever it be, and they get inundated with sizes and requests and numbers for cousins, friends, and family, and so on. So it's all part of the Warriors way and our office culture.
Well, I love the detail. One of the ones we'd heard is you say, I've signed up for singing lessons. This is about I've signed up for singing lessons, so don't think it's weird if I'm out on the field singing at training. Just kind of like subtle, weird gags.
Well, that's right. We do have some strange people that work for us from time to time, and so it probably aligns with what they're about, some of these people.
I gather some of the staff have also tried to check the CCTV footage to see and try and catch a culprit, but some people leave no trace.
Yeah, that's true. The footy guys do all the time when I try and get the coaches. They always go to the CCTV footage, and but
You're a step ahead.
Step ahead, because I've got control of that as well.
Yeah, awesome. Like I said, we've spoken to a lot of people on this. I actually want to read what your friend and racing colleague Andrew Castles said about you. I asked to sort of describe Cam for us. He said, Cam has the happy knack of being able to relate to everyone. It's not something that everyone has. He could wander in here and lean over the fence and have a fag with a lowly strapper just as easily as drinking a glass of French champagne with Sir Brendan Lindsay. He has that lucky ability to do that. I don't care what anyone says. To me, success in life comes down to relationships. You might be the smartest bloke in the world, but if you can't get on with people and you can't foster relationships across the board, then you'll struggle like hell to be successful. Cameron is very, very good at relationships. That is his biggest asset. Some of the player deals that he has done will come down to his relationships. I know a lot about that Warriors time in Australia, and it wasn't all about convincing the players to be part of it. It was as much about convincing the wives and families that they needed to be a part of that too. And to be able to do that with the wives is not something that all CEOs would have been able to do. He's smart, but he's not always going to be the smartest guy there. But what he will be is the bloke that can get on with people the best and get them to do the best by him. He's very streetwise, very clever in as far as he can read a situation. But he also surrounds himself with people that are very good at what they do. I know the Warriors organisation pretty well, and he's surrounded himself with good people that work in key roles who are superb. He did the same thing at Ellerslie. He made sure that he had the right people in the right roles, because ultimately you can't do everything, but you can make sure that you've got people that are capable of doing the right things for you. I thought that was just such a great, clear sort of summary. But I wanted to ask the question at the end of that, is that sort of relatability he speaks to, do you see that as your biggest strength?
Well, I think it just has to be. Like you as I touched on earlier, like I don't come from that corporate sector or corporate world and never been educated in that sense, but it's always been about, that person that you're with and how best you get the best out of them and give them great opportunities. And it's a reflection of your upbringing and a reflection of people that guided you and educated and managed you before. And I've had many of good leaders, and I wouldn't say every single or any of them have been the smartest person in the room. They've always been the best leader in the room, and there's a very big difference between that. And to lead, you need people wrapped around you, and you need to engage and bring them along and, make them feel like they belong. And so, that's nice of Butch to say all that. And I've always tried to get the best people in the best roles around me and empower them and let them do their thing, and my job is just simply to support and provide them the opportunity to be the best version they can be. And I feel like that's my style, rightly or wrongly. When it's time to celebrate success, let them be the ones that we celebrate. But when shit hits a fan, that's when I like to come out and then lead and have them know that their back's been looked after and they've got the comfort of strong leadership then. But, it's all about the people for me.
Before the Warriors, before being a CEO, before racing, before the practical jokes, you grew up as the youngest of three boys of Lebanese descent in a small town called Casino, and you've referenced your upbringing and where that comes from. Can you paint a little bit of a picture for us? Not all of us have been lucky enough to be to rural New South Wales, but tell us a little bit about Casino and what that scene was like as you were growing up.
Yeah, look, it is country, it is remote, but it was the best for me and our family, and it was a small community. We grew up, you knew everyone, there were no rules then. You ride your horses down the street, you ride your bikes down the street, the police knew you if you were out too late, all that sort of thing. So it was a very, very safe environment just to be a kid. I was blessed, with a great family, and you never forget those sort of early years and how your family really set your values and standards in life. And, my dad, Lebanese, his family moved to casino, and they were in the fruit game, and Dad had a hard upbringing himself on the basis of being a foreigner into another country, and his parents couldn't speak English, and he had to do all the negotiations from a young. Being the eldest of 5 kids, he had to do all the negotiations with the banks and all that sort of thing for his parents and so on, and he met my mother, who's from the country, just outside a casino as well, and she grew up on a cattle stud, a Murray Grey stud, and so I was just blessed to have an awesome upbringing with mum and dad and my 2 brothers, and but casino there's a soul to it, like if you're from casino, you knew that you had each other's back somewhere, sometime, and that still continues now. I had dinner with Chrissy Muntz the other night, the famous jockey, now trainer, who's from casino. He's a little bit older, went to school with his brother, and but we just say, like, you go to a lot of towns now, there's no soul there because people just come and go from them. But this place didn't have a great deal, but it had good people, and it was wasn't the most exciting place, but it was. You learn a lot of stuff there you wouldn't learn elsewhere.
I love that note, because there's a notion of whakapapa here, right, with a place that you connect back to, and I love that you continue to carry that, and I think that's probably why a lot of people in this country gravitate towards you, because you have such an affinity to your upbringing, to your family, and where you come from, which is such a cool trait.
Yeah, it's I still talk to a lot of people from casino that still live there. I go back there. My eldest brother's still there. We had a business there until a couple of years ago, and it's really special to me to still be able to relate to it, but also have special friends that still live there. And there's a dozen of them coming over in March for our first home game. So it's great, and it's a place you'll always remember. Do I go there a lot? Probably not, and that's due to time mainly. But am I proud of it? Absolutely.
It's so true, eh? Like, as you're young, it's normal. You just think your life is kind of normal, and then you get a bit older and you reflect, shit, they came here, they didn't speak a word of English, and they've had to set this all up themselves, how hard that would have been, and a greater respect for them. Yeah,
and I was fortunate enough in 2018 to go back to Lebanon. 13 or something, 14, whatever it was, to go back to Lebanon and experience their village and so on. And Daniel and Sibel Narkley from here took me, and when you see that to where they landed, like, and particularly to come from there to casino of all places, not to Sydney, not to Brisbane, to casino, it's a huge move. Like, it's people whinge about moving from Ponsonby to Parnell or somewhere like that. Mate, that's nothing compared to what a lot of these people do in life, and it still happens now. And that's a beautiful part of New Zealand, Australia. It can present those, those options and opportunities for people that live on for generations then.
I'm fast forwarding down the track, but it's obvious to me. You can see the connection with the playing group that you have as well, and some of the challenges that some of the players would have of their parents moving here to New Zealand and setting up lives. So that empathy must hold you in really good stead for the role that you have now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good role to accommodate those discussions and challenges and have an understanding and furthermore help and we care a lot at the Warriors because we have to, because you rely on people moving to Auckland, whether it's from Australia, Tonga, Samoa, wherever it is, even Hamilton or
you can stay here.
South
You can
Island.
stay here and still play out there, mate. You don't have to leave our borders.
So we do accommodate those challenges a lot, and it has given me a really good understanding of what they're going through, and particularly how we can sort of help manage.
What did you learn from your dad? Because your dad went on to become a very popular and successful politician. I think he owned the biggest pub in the town. He had all these sort of strings to his bow. Do you see a lot of yourself in your dad? Yeah,
I think like what I learned from dad and mum was just integrity and honesty. They just worked hard all their life and provided for their family and so on. And but Dad particularly, had a really special trait of bringing people together for the greater cause, whether that was in his business as George and Foreman still exists now, a big stock and station agency that he started. The purpose of that business was to give the farmers the best opportunity to sell their cattle or their properties or whatever it be to make a living. And, they did so well with that and out of that. Onto the pub, it was a place for people to gather and be together in a small country town and, celebrate their friendship and just have a good time. He achieved that. And then when he got asked to go into politics, he brought together thousands of constituents for one common cause, that was to make that region the best it possibly could. And he married that up with making the state government believe in Lismore, and that region was a great region for New South Wales to be, the best state in Australia, and he was able to do that. So the one common thing through all of those phases of his life was people and bringing people together. And I feel like if, apart from the integrity, the honesty and all of that stuff, the one thing that I always take away from Dad was the way he conducted business was hand out, shake hands, take people with you, bring the best out of them and be proud of them. And I feel like, that's sort of rolled out a little bit in my career, and one I always go back to about getting good people around you.
Yeah, one of the observations of people we spoke to is that your dad could work a room. And the observation is that you can work a room like your dad. You're very good at...
Oh, he's better.
He's better?
He was good. He'd even be cheeky where, he'd be in a room and he'd come up to you and say, mate, who's that bloke again over there? And you'd say, Mark Robinson. Yeah, sweet. And then Mark, g'day, Mark, how you going? Like Mark, Thomas remembered my name. But no, he was particularly good. And whilst Dad would never been comfortable drinking French champagne, to use that analogy Butch used before, Dad was always around, could be around those people and equally be at the sale yards, helping them get a calf out of the yards to put in the back of a ute to get home. He just still to this day is the same.
It's that Rudyard Kipling, isn't it? Walk with kings nor lose the common touch from the poem If.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like you must have picked unconsciously some of those diplomacy skills that you've observed that you interact with in your everyday role now as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like you do. You live and learn through life, and I've picked up so many good things and ways about doing things through experience first and foremost. But just people, you just observe, you learn, you listen, and over time it's then your turn to execute the way you want to be. And if you marry all those little attributes up, you can find a really good manner in which you go and conduct yourself with business-wise.
We're going to continue the story of Cameron. We actually spoke to your dad and asked him about you. I want to read what he said. This is Thomas. He said, Cameron is a great listener. There's no bullshit about him. There's no grey areas with him. It's either a feast or a famine. He sits back. He doesn't say a lot, just listens, and he can work. He's very streetwise. But at school, he was no angel, let me tell you. At his boarding school one day, it was the day of the Melbourne Cup, and I didn't wake up to it, but the school rang to tell me that he'd been put in the infirmary because he wasn't well. He'd worked out that if he could get to the infirmary, he would get to watch the Melbourne Cup. Well, here I am at home being notified that something's happened to my boy, and I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with him? Then someone told me what he'd done. I thought, oh yeah, shit, I should have been awake to that.
Is that a case of you work in the system? You just couldn't miss the Melbourne Cup?
They left the door open, mate. I walked through it. Someone told me the opportunity door opens, you walk through it.
How old are you at this point?
I would have been 14 at boarding school, and it was the last thing on their mind was the Melbourne Cup, but the first thing and the only thing on my mind was the Melbourne Cup. And you just find ways of navigating through the hurdles, and that was easy because the nurse was none the wiser, and they used to have the thermometer where they'd stick it in your mouth, and there'd only be 5 amongst 400 boys. So you walk in and they just keep putting it in each other's mouth like that. But when the nurse ain't looking, the old trick was there's a hot water tap. You just whack it under that for a minute, and she'd look at you, go, oh shit, you're a little bit high in temperature. You feeling all right? No, I'm not good. Go and lay down, but you can't leave all day. I said, I won't be. trust me, just bang, Channel 9 or whoever it was at the time. And yeah, like it was, there's just ways you get around things at boarding school.
I spoke to your mate Brad, who's your sort of one of your closest friends that's been with you forever, and he said school wasn't quite the right fit for you. Your mind was just elsewhere and you're sort of thinking outside the box, and it wasn't a good fit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, academically, just had no chance really. I don't even know what they call it now, but the Year 12 exam in Australia, which used to be called the High School Certificate, HSC, I had to do a listening test, because I just couldn't. I struggled to read, to write, all that sort of thing, and so they put me in a room with people from China, from Papua New Guinea, and so on, and they just press play, and the cat sat in the mat, and they press pause. They go, "What'd the cat do?" I go, "Fuck, I wasn't going to listen." So, right, I'm looking over, and the Chinese bloke is looking at me, and someone else is looking at me, and then but it just wasn't my thing, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be your thing. You just got to find what you love and what you do, and that'll take you further than learning, more than the basics in education. And but I loved it because of my friends and my mates and the sport and so on. But yeah, it was pretty tough living there for a while.
Brad mentioned rugby, your rugby league background. He said that you went all boys boarding school. The dominant sport was rugby league, and that's potentially where your love of the game was entrenched. But he said you were quite a handy 5'8", and he said that you played in the first grade grand final for West Tamworth, and that there's a bit of a story behind that.
The grand final?
Grand final.
I don't know. So we got beat. I love footy. And I had two passions in life outside of family. It was footy and racing, and I've lived the dream in both. So, playing with, Dicko and all those guys, did a bit of coaching, all that sort of thing. It was just good fun. And Brad and I went and played on the Gold Coast for a while, and he kicked on. He was great, but I worked out that I wasn't going to go too much further in that system, so I went working instead and in the racing game. So moved to Tamworth and through racing and played footy out there and played in grand finals. It was great, lucky.
You've mentioned the Lebanese background, and I don't know the size of the racing game in Lebanon, but look, how do you end up into racing? Because you don't come from a horse racing family, right?
No.
How do you make the leap from that to loving blood sports?
Well, the family side of things, what they know in racing now is what I've taught them. They had nothing to do with racing. However, down the road from where we grew up, there was a set of stables called Penguin Lodge, and Leo Clapham was a trainer, and great clients of Dad was the Doherty family. And
this is the same family you referenced before, right? That you brought in.
Jim was a bookmaker, and Leo was a trainer. So I was going good. I had to get the mail out of the stables, and I had the bookmaker to put the money on for me. So it was good fun. But I just started working in the stables after school, and then going to the races with Jim and his family, and I just learnt all about it that way. And and then through the stables, a guy, Brian Allen, was the chairman of Queensland Racing at the time. He was an owner, and he said to me if I want to get more involved in the racing industry outside of the stables and training and all that, he could, give me a leg up into the sort of administration side. And that clearly was probably the more go for me. And stewarding integrity was something that sort of just took my eye a bit. I experienced it one day in Sydney when I was doing work experience, went to the races, and they suspended Jimmy Cassidy, a great New Zealand jockey.
Oh, yeah.
And, just the whole process of the investigation and making sure the integrity was squeaky clean and all that sort of thing, it sort of just resonated with me a little bit. And so I went down that path, but it all started from Leo Clapham and Jim Doherty and their families helping me out when I was a kid.
So the stewarding has been explained to me as you're almost the policeman for racing. You're responsible for race day and non-race day and what's right and what's wrong. Do you think that sense or that attract or that appeal to that came from your upbringing of doing the right thing as you were growing up? Like that's what attracted you to becoming a steward?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like, but more so because of Leo Clapham, the horse trainer, and Jim, the bookmaker, they couldn't be in two opposite ends on the race course. You know, they both would have been trying to win at all costs, whether you're the trainer or whether you're the bookmaker. But both of them at all times never did the wrong thing by winning. I never saw Leo Clapham as a trainer do something wrong to a horse or anything to take an advantage to win. And equally with Jim and his bookmaking career, never once did I see him or his family do something wrong to earn $1 over his bookmakers or over the punters or whoever it be. So I saw two ways, two people I highly regard doing the right thing in racing, and I felt they're the people that needed protected. They needed to be protected. So there's so many great people in the game that do the right thing, and there's a small minority that go into the game to try and do the wrong thing, because you can earn a quick buck out of the racing industry by doing the wrong thing. So from those early days, I felt that, yeah, I'm in a role that protects Leo, the likes of Leo Clapham and the likes of Jim Doherty. They're good people in the game. So that I felt like that was a good role to play, and that was because of those two guys.
But you get sent to places like Alice Springs, all of these in your formative years, right? So you must be, not only have you picked up lessons from Casino, you're picking up lessons along the way from all of these different characters and influences as well.
Yeah, look, you in racing in particular, you know, have saddle, will travel. You know, like you can't stop learning, you can't stop moving, and I was fortunate that I was able to, you know, to just go with the flow where there was a proper job that would get me further experience and opportunity, and I knew each role I took had a different reason and a different variable to it that would help me later in life with my career and so on. And, you know, Alice Springs, for example, you know, it came out of the blue, but I got sent there for 3 months. It was a bit of a test case, and the fact that I was about probably 20, and the boss from New South Wales rang me up and said, "Would you go there for 3 months?" I said, "Yep." He said, "You know, it needs a bit of a clean up. It's a bit of a test case. If you do good, you know, this could be a chance to prove to us that you're ready to come to Sydney, and you know, that's where the big boys are. That's where, you know, all the big investigations are, all that sort of stuff, and best racing." So I took the opportunity to go to a place called Alice Springs, which is in the middle of Australia, and learn a few valuable lessons there, because they've been, you know, not really governed properly for a while. They've had part-time people doing it, and so I went there, and I felt like over the 3 months I started, you know, off on the wrong foot with everyone. I worked out pretty quick. There's about 5,000 kilometres to the next town on either side of Alice Springs. So if I didn't get on with this group, I was in trouble. So ultimately, I left there 3 months later, and you know, the racing was in good shape, and really good people, and we all worked together to make the industry better. And that got me back to Sydney. But opportunities arise. You've got to take them if they're the right thing, and teach you the right stuff.
And that's how you end up in New Zealand, right? Is via racing.
Yeah. So I was laying on the lounge in Hong Kong at the Sevens on a mate who's the boss of Hong Kong Racing, and I was up there for the Sevens, and a guy by the name of Paul Biddle became the CEO of New Zealand Racing. Cut a long story short, he was looking for someone to come over and help, you know, change things, and so I took up the opportunity to come to New Zealand. Hadn't been here before, moved to Wellington, and wow, what a ride it's been, 20-odd years now, and I would never have guessed. I thought I'd only come for 2 years. I would never have guessed I'd still be here, and had the experience I've had, and the life, and just I couldn't be any more blessed and fortunate for New Zealand and the Kiwis.
You're quite a private guy, Cam. Like you... one of the comments was from one of the contacts that they were kind of surprised you were doing this because you like shining the light on others and perhaps not yourself, which is actually common amongst a lot of our guests. But do you enjoy sort of like talking about the makings of you? Like, is it comfortable for you? I
actually enjoy talking about the people that have helped, because because there's been a bloody lot. And at some point in life, you want to be able to acknowledge them. And like I do a lot of media, but that's work related, and that whether that was in racing or whether that's predominantly now with the One New Zealand Warriors, you do a lot of media, but I genuinely don't like it, but you have to do it. And people perceive you to be, just an ego maniac because you're in the media all the time and all that. But my job is to do that, and my job is to promote. My job is to challenge things, and if I'm not happy with it, be honest, be upfront, and so on. And the media is now a platform where they just want that commentary all the time, good or bad. And in the role I've got, I've got to be there. But rarely am I in the media doing this, going through history of me, and so it's not a. I don't get overly comfortable. I struggle more to talk to less people than more people. I can talk to a 1,000-person conference, and have done many a times, but I struggle to talk to like a group of 20 people because I feel that's more personal, more intimate, and it's a lot. I struggle in that scenario more. So, this is pretty different for me.
I think part of the reason the podcast is sort of where it is because the listeners love hearing from people that are at the top of their field and whatever it is, and kind of like we dig into what helped shape them, the values and the family and the background and the lessons along the way. So it is different, and we often get like CEOs and we talk about parts of their life that they haven't done before. But I'm always just, I'm just kind of interested in what it's like on your side, because I'm finding it really interesting, but I can also understand that if it's not something you often talk about.
It's one of the things that I've learnt as I've been lucky enough to get the roles I've got is you get lonely as you get higher in an organisation. Like, once upon a time you're one of the staff, and then you're one of the managers, and then you're the manager, and you wear all the consequential effects of the staff's behaviour, the staff's workload and outcomes and all that sort of thing. So when you sort of start to get there, I've become very much my daughter's dad and my partner's partner, and very home related. Where before, as I was coming up, you'd only have to walk into any number of pub and I'll be there having a beer. But, you sort of start to shrink a bit more as you get up the ladder a little bit.
Which is cool, because as we're learning about it, because a lot of people, they'll only know you as the Warriors CEO.
Yeah.
They won't know any of this part of it as well. So I guess just understanding, and it's a nostalgic trip too. Like I often find with conversations like these, you reflect on your own upbringing and your own influences.
Therapy. Big long
it is. Big long, for all three of us. Yeah. But it is super, super interesting. I just had one, to jump back into the racing, I just had one question of, I know you had that sense of the stewarding was great, and it was, understanding the two ends of the spectrum and making sure rules were followed. But as you pointed out right at the start, racing's a really collegial sport. So did there come a point where you're like, I don't want to be the policeman anymore. I want to be involved in it. I want to get into enjoying the hype of a race day.
Yeah, ironic you say that. I was only having this conversation with a mate the other night at the races, and as a steward, you couldn't own horses or anything like that. And I've got to be thankful to Russell Warwick, who was the chairman of the Auckland Racing Club at the time, who tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Do you want to become CEO and get out of the integrity side of things?" And it was like, that was, if he didn't do that, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now, because you do things in life because you enjoy people, you have the same common interest. All your friends, you're going to have a shared interest somewhere, and that's what brings you together. In racing, there's so many good people that we all share the interest in racing, but they got to celebrate and enjoy it by, their roles and doing whatever. But I had to go into a dark room and watch videos and try and catch anyone cheating and all that sort of thing. And I never once delivered good news. It's like the ambulance person. They only get a phone call when someone's sick. And the stewarding, you're only ever turning up at people's places, stables, or bring them into the steward's room on race day to challenge them or to fine them or suspend them or whatever it be. And it wore me down in the end, and I felt, well, I'm not enjoying racing anymore because no one wants to talk to you and all that sort of thing. So it was good, and I can't think, Russell Warwick will always be a bloke that just turned the world upside down for me.
I want to link up to the sort of the pointy end of racing and then the transition into the Warriors. So the timeline I've got is 2010, you returned to New Zealand, lead the racing integrity unit. 2012, you're named the CEO of Auckland Racing Club at Ellerslie. 2015, you joined the Warriors board of directors, and then you resign from your racing role in 2017. But as you're moving into those sort of administrative roles, did you have a vision of where you wanted to go? Like, could you have ever imagined that you would sort of skip over into a different sport?
Yes. I said a long time ago when I was living in Tamworth to my old boss, who reminds me a lot, I told him then I'd be a CEO of an NRL club one day. That's really? Back in late 90s, to which we laughed about at the point in time. And you never, ever feel like you're going to do it, and particularly then when I was just a policeman in racing. But when I was asked to go on the board of the Warriors, it was it was a great experience because it gave me an insight from a helicopter view into the business, and also an understanding of the NRL system and how that works. And I was able to marry up those roles together, and then the opportunity came to go into the business, which was due to a set of circumstances of, people leaving and so on, and a requirement that we needed someone urgently. So I thought, here's my chance. And then the day I started at the Warriors, it changed dramatically with Eric notifying me that as I was driving in the gate of Ellerslie for my last day, that I'm now selling the Warriors. And he said, can you stay at Ellerslie? I said, no, today's my last day. So I just went to the Warriors on a whim, just thinking, well, I could be here for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks until someone buys it. And just lucky Mark Robinson come along, which I can talk about later. But it was a dream to run an NRL club, and that was, that was a unexpected journey to get there, but I got there.
When you're on the board for the first time and you are having that helicopter view, as you say, are the cogs starting to turn in your own mind about, if I was in the hot seat, these are the sorts of things that I would start to do? Like, you've had that dream of doing it, but does the pieces start to kind of form a path?
You sort of look at things, but you got to also be respectful of the CEO that's there, and Jim Doyle was there at the time, and he was a very experienced and capable CEO, and I had some views that I feel like if I was there, I'd do it differently, but not at that point. As a board member, you support your CEO and provide that leadership when needed, but you're not there to undermine what's going on. But the minute I was put into the CEO's role, I went and did it my way, to be fair, and and that's been a great journey so far. But you do learn a lot, and sitting on a board, but you also got to appreciate and respect you've got management.
Keen to dig into that tumultuous start. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but
yes,
Robbo.
It is.
So tell us about Robbo, if I can call him Robbo, and the relationship.
You know him personally, do you?
No, can I call him Robbo? I don't know. First time you met him, first impressions, and how that relationship got off the ground.
Yeah, well, I'll just start by saying you'll never meet a more beautiful human that sometimes his facade doesn't perceive that, but he's got a hard exterior but the softest interior you'll ever find in a human. That's more committed and passionate, or passionate about his staff, first and foremost, and the Warriors winning this competition. So that's him in a nutshell. I just cannot speak highly enough of the guy. Where I first saw him, I was on the plane coming back from the Gold Coast with my partner and daughter, and I was in about row 4, and he's in row 1. And for those that know Robbo, patience isn't his greatest thing. Like, he doesn't sit around and do nothing. He's always got to be moving and talking. And he's up and down, talking loud, talking this, talking that, walk down the aisle, walk back and so on. I thought, who is this bloke, you know, and so on. And anyway, we get off the plane and I'd had arranged to meet Mark Robinson, who had just purchased the club, on the Tuesday at his favourite restaurant, Sales in Auckland. And so off I go to this meeting and I walk up the stairs and here's this same bloke that was up and down, talking loud, right there. And I just looked at him and I said, no way in the world. It's him. And I said to him, mate, I saw you on the plane on Sunday, and we just shook hands, and I don't think we've ever looked back from that point. And I can tell you, I've needed him a lot over the time. And, it's been from the minute we sat down at that day and had a chat, where we're right for each other. We're different, which is a good thing, to each other, but we complement each other in a lot of ways, which is really good. But he's just the world's best.
It's a unique situation, right? Because he's the sole owner, which doesn't often happen in sporting. Well, it does happen in most sporting franchises.
Well, he is now, but at the time, Auckland Rugby League had majority share, but Robbo's too street smart. They needed Robbo to buy the minority share, but he's a good operator. He said, that's fine, I'll take the minority share, but I want equal say. So he paid the lesser amount but got equal say. And in the end, it just wasn't working and something had to change. They had two different ambitions. Robbo wanted to invest in the club and make it work and change it and do this and do that. And he wanted to do that without any restriction, where Auckland Rugby League, their mandate was not to invest in the club, was more to connect the club to grassroots and all that. So in the end, Robbo said they agreed to take it over. And so I didn't know where I was sort of really stood. And he said, I'm only doing this if you come with me. I said, right, well, let's go. Might as well go now. And so he took it over, and poor bastard, 12 months later, COVID hit. And, that's when his leadership really stood up. But being the sole owner, he's one of the few. I don't think there is a sole owner in the NRL apart from Mark. Everyone else has got shareholders. So he does row a pretty big whacker on his own, and we're all in it with him.
You made the comment there that we kind of needed each other, and you were about to embark on just an incredible few years, which we're kind of keen to dig into, which is COVID chat, which we sort of banned a few years back. But I feel like this is a special dispensation.
You can keep the ban imposed if you want.
Yeah, how many times have you told this story, and has it ever been fully really told?
No, we got approached once to do a doco on it, but it never really it never really happened for a few reasons. But no, I never really got into it, and there's a lot to it. But it was a amazing time for a lot of people.
Well, which version do you want? I feel like it's important to touch on because it's, without putting words in your mouth, the hardest leadership challenge that you ever would have experienced, and perhaps the making of you. And there was all sorts of stuff. There was the Telstra clash with Vodafone. There was the Tamworth airport. There was being away for 1,000 days. There was sort of phone calls with friends and family that you're having to navigate.
The revenue drop, but still having to operate a
like there's too much to go into in each one. But like when you reflect back on that period, what is there to say about it? Like, what is the most important message or lesson or that's come out of it?
It was people that got us through it. It was 1,038 days. We were away from Mount Smart. And look, there's no manual to the management that anyone could apply during that period. The world was shut down. No one knew for how long, all that sort of thing. However, we just had, and everyone went through this. Like, we weren't heroes through this process, but we were needed through this process to keep working, because I felt like it gave a lot of people something to look forward to on the weekend by having the boys playing footy and so on. So our players, our staff, our club and the NRL knew that, it was important to try and achieve what we needed to get to Australia and all that sort of thing. And, just that first day it arrived we were in Newcastle. I was driving from the hotel to the ground. It was pissing down rain. It was cold. It was wet, windy. And I had a phone call from someone from the NRL that said to me, mate, this COVID thing's getting pretty serious. Have you been in contact with any of your government people in New Zealand? I had not even heard of COVID, and it must have been in the news or something. And so I hung up and I rang one of our government contacts over here. I said, this COVID-related activity that's going on. He goes, mate, no, don't worry, there's no challenges, it's okay, there's this virus, blah, 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 blah. And I said, oh, sweet. So I hung up, got to the ground, and the boys were warming up and so on. And anyway, I got a phone call from the NRL to say things have changed dramatically. The border in New Zealand is going to shut midday tomorrow or something like that. We need to work out what we're going to do with the team. And there was pressure there to continue playing because the minute we dropped out of the competition, it was going to be a financial burden on the NRL. So the boys are all out in the field by this stage, and I'm just sitting in the change room taking phone call after phone call after phone call. And by this, as you guys would have experienced, the whole COVID story is blowing up in New Zealand. Government's coming out with shutting the borders, and we're stuck in Australia. Then all the wives, partners, and everyone's ringing, and I couldn't provide an answer, and that was the hardest thing in the world. And I had to go to the press conference after the game, which we got beat in, and explain what we're going to do. And I had no idea. I hadn't even told the players by this stage, so we had to get the players in the change room and explain to them that we might be able to get home. And this is a big shock to everyone. So we had a team meeting in Sydney that night with the CEO of the NRL, and I just told Todd Greenberg, I said, mate, you're not going to tell us what to do, when to do and how to do it. We're going to let the players decide what they want to do. They're the biggest risk with their families and so on. So the players decided to stay and sort of ride out the next week and see what happens. But we had 2 or 3 players that were expecting babies within that period. So I brought them back to New Zealand with me the first thing the next morning. And then the boys stayed for an extra week, and we had to borrow training gear. We had to live in northern New South Wales. We played on the Gold Coast the next week, so we didn't have a home ground. And we played Canberra, got beat, and then they called the comp off. So our boys come home, and I thought, we're all home now, which was good. But that was just the start of the whole journey that was about to unfold when they re-announced the competition to start again. And we had 6 weeks to get ourselves together and get ready to come back to Australia.
Is that where the turning Tamworth International Airport comes in?
Well, I felt like when they announced it, I felt like, well, hang on, guys. Like, we're in lockdown over in New Zealand. Australia was vastly different. We're in lockdown in New Zealand. We can't even leave our houses, let alone get to an airport, fly to Australia. We can't train. Every other Australian club's training. So I felt like they'd forgotten about our situation. And our situation was, as we know now, was going to be vastly different for the next 3 years. And so we started then negotiating how this was going to work and so on and so on. So not only was our airport shut, there weren't any flights out of New Zealand, weren't any flights into New Zealand. We had to get out of lockdown and so on. So we're working with the Australian government, New Zealand government, airways, state governments in Australia and so on. So we got through all that negotiation, which there were some very clear non-negotiables, and that was all about families coming to Australia and so on. So we agreed based on all these conditions, and none greater than the families would arrive in Australia by the 30th of May, and we would fly out on the 27th of April or something to start training on the 2nd of May. And we were locked in to go to a place called Lennox Head, and they got a camp there right on the beach, with all just villas on it. And, we had to try and find somewhere where the boys were going to be happy because we had to do isolation and all that sort of thing. And we were due to leave on the Sunday morning, and on the Wednesday night, I got a phone call from the state government of New South Wales and said, no, we don't want you staying at our facility anymore because of the risk, and we don't want to be seen to be facilitating risk with COVID and having you overseas people come in. And so you need to find somewhere that's privately owned that you can land your plane from New Zealand and go into isolation for 2 weeks. And, just when you hear those words, after all the work, all the negotiation, all the approval processes, that we'd just been hit with a sledgehammer. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was just sitting there just lonely thinking I've got nothing left to give, And a good mate of mine, Kevin Anderson, who's the member for Parliament at Tamworth, rang me when all this was happening at the start. Said, mate, anything I can do for you, just let me know. And knowing Tamworth like I know,
it's the former first. It's the 5/8 from West Tamworth Grand Final 1998.
So knowing Tamworth like I know, I thought I knew my old footy ground was there. I knew the facility and all that sort of thing. And I thought, well, I'll test Kevin's mettle and see how good we are, because not only did we have to get federal government approval, we also had to get state government, so whatever state you flew into. So there's all these different approval processes. And while I was sitting there, so I rang Kevin. I said, mate, he said, you'd like to help? Yeah. I said, well, I'm rat shit. And I said, I need to get the team to Sydney, Australia. I said, they've got to land at the same place they're going to stay. We've got to isolate. We've got this, we've got that. And in Australia at that point in time, all the clubs were shut, like the leagues clubs and all that sort of thing. So I knew West Tamworth leagues clubs were shut and the accommodation and all that. He said, mate, let's do this. So we got the CEO straight on the phone and we negotiated all that. So the next challenge, and the only challenge and the real challenge, was flying direct from New Zealand to Tamworth, an international flight that's never happened before. It's a regional town, sizable regional town, but they don't take international flights. So Michael McCormack, who was the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, rang me about an hour later. He heard about the story, Kevin had rung him, and he said, Cameron, and he knew my father through politics. He said, I will help you. I said, well, I've got the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia helping us. This could happen. And in the space of 24 hours, we had a plane which couldn't take all the weight, so we had to fly other stuff with someone else because of the runway. If you all know about runways, I know all about it now. So we had to have a plane that could only carry X amount of weight that could fit the runway. We had to get the customs staff up from Sydney to have a immigration department there, and so on and so on. And we left here Sunday morning, flew into Tamworth, made history, international flight. Half the town was wrapped around the airport and welcoming us to town. And we got locked into we had this whole leagues club, training ground, the lot. And yeah, it just set the tone for what our year was going to be about, which was full of challenges. But it was amazing. However, the worst part, and as I touched on, the one condition that we left this country to go and do this for the NRL was that families were allowed to come. And halfway through that month, I got a phone call to say families aren't allowed to come. And that broke me, because that was a man-to-man promise to the players that your families will be allowed to come. And that didn't happen straight away. And that was really awful, because it ripped our team apart, it ripped our club apart, because if you had an Australian passport, you could go. So if you're a Kiwi without a Kiwi passport, or Samoan or Tongan, whatever, non-Australian passport, you couldn't go. And that split our team in about 5 different groups, and it became challenging from then on for that first year.
Was that Did you have to announce that to everyone at once in a Zoom call?
Yeah.
When everyone's sitting in? Was that one of the hardest calls
it was
that
awful.
you've had to make?
It was awful, and because that was the non-negotiable, and I felt that, and I carried that, and that's the one regret that I have amongst a lot of things that went wrong. That's the one regret I have about not getting right, was that part. Like they should have went with the boys on that Sunday. Even if we had to get 2 aircrafts, but the fact that I took the guarantee and the promise from the officials in Australia, and the boys believed in me, I felt awful. But we eventually got them there in year 2, but it was a long 8 months for a lot of families. I remember Roger, Tuivasa-Sheck, he left when his young fella was just in his arms, not long born, and come back and didn't even know who his dad was, because he'd grown and Roger hadn't been around. So there's a lot of stories like that haunt me and haunt us as a club, but there's a lot of good stuff as well that showed that and underpinned where we're at now, and showed a lot of resilience and character that I don't think we would have ever got.
What was the personal toll on this period? Because you're carrying so much ridiculous stress and so many moving pieces. Like, reflecting now, were you just holding it together? Like, did you have things that you were doing to actually survive that period?
Yeah, I think when you go into those, I call it like war zone management, is you just do what you got to do, and your care factor's so focused on your staff and players and getting that job done, and you forget about your managers around you a little bit and all that sort of thing. And I was just so focused on the outcomes that we had to get and keep the club alive. And Robbo was really good in keeping, just trying to keep everything going at the same time. And at the same time, there was, you sort of forget a little bit about yourself. And my partner and my daughter was only small then too, and they had their challenges, and we were separated for months as well, and so on. But I had some good people around me that just checked in a lot, and that's really important. But you get on a path, and you just focus so much on everything else. But it's really important for anyone, not just managers, that you got to remember about yourself, and particularly your family. And did I handle it right? Probably not. But did we come out the other end because of a number of committed days and long days and so on? Yeah, absolutely.
Before we get to coming out the end, is this the period of time that you're flatting with Stacey Jones in Redcliffe?
Year one concluded, and for some silly reason I thought, COVID's over, because everything was so focused on the footy season and getting the boys home. Once the boys come home, I thought, this is beautiful. We're home, we're done, we're through COVID, never do that again, blah, blah, blah. It was only a month later that, we're told that the borders won't be open again next year or for another 6 months, so the NRL are straight back on the planning thing again. And the year 2 was worse, because we went Tamworth again, Terrigal, and then we got overnight shifted, and that's the point where I got separated. That my partner Emma and daughter Stella Rose went to Canberra to see her family, only for a couple of days. They left that afternoon. I got a phone call that night, and we got shipped up to the Gold Coast the next day, because that's when the Queensland was shutting the borders, and they moved the whole NRL up to the Gold Coast.
I've forgotten about all of this.
Yeah.
And so overnight that happened. So we had to pack up all of our stuff and go to the Gold Coast, and we were put into a compound there. And this was quite, I'll say funny, I don't know if it's a term, but it was interesting. That's probably better. So they put 4 clubs into each compound, and we were at the Gold Coast, and we chose the Gold Coast because then we knew we couldn't go home. So then we thought we'll stay on the Gold Coast in the off-season, give the boys a good break and so on. And we were there with Canberra, South Sydney and Canterbury and us. And the amount of bullshit that they stroll in, oh, fuck, aren't we going to get this? Aren't we going to get... And we've been locked away for 2 years a year and a half by this stage. And, mate, their wives are coming in and their partners, whoever it be, and they're all whinging about how come we have to stay here in lockdown and all this. And we're just sitting there, no partners, wives, kids or anything. It's just 26, 30 people from the Warriors. They've got all of their families in this compound, kids running around everywhere. And I was sitting there going, mate, you guys have just got zero idea on what you're going through and what we've been through. And so we got through all of that, and we packed up our team room one day because we were allowed to move out because we're going to stay in Australia and live. So the other guys stayed in that hotel, the other teams, packed up our whole team room, and everyone was excited. We're going to a place called Soul at Surfers Paradise, big apartment block. Everyone got their own apartment. It was just going to be heaven, after everything we've been through. And packed it all up, got on the bus. I got a phone call from the NRL, said, do not leave the premises. So what do you mean? He goes, we've just been told by the Queensland government you're not allowed to move to the hotel apartment, to the unit apartments. Or the bus, everyone's got the music on. We're all like giving the birds to the Canberra players and all this going, stuff you whingers, we're out of here. This is our time. And I said, you can't be serious. Yep, do not leave. You'll jeopardise the whole competition if you get out. So to get up, get on the bus, microphone, said, boys, grab your bags. We're not
It's
allowed
Stacey
out.
Jones's birthday.
So we went back to our rooms. Everyone was blowing up, deluxe. The next day, I just said to the NRL, we're going. And we did. We just drove out the gate. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So we went to these apartments and we lived there, and we couldn't get back to New Zealand. So we had to stay the whole Christmas, summer and all that. But because we got separated, it took 6 months to get the families up. My partner and that went to Canberra for 2 nights. I didn't see him for another 6 months. And but we got relocated to Redcliffe then, and that's when the little general come over. And I said, where are we going to live? He said, well, you pick it, George. I'll come and stay with you. And we're great mates. And it was a funny time living with Stace. And he helped me get through a lot, even when Brownie resigned and the appointment of Webby and all that sort of thing. It was a pretty crazy time, to say the least. But there's so much you could delve into.
Could have made.
Well, I was going to say, how did you divvy up just the household tasks? Was it day on, day off for cooking or cleaning or laundry?
Sure, I didn't let him cook, that's for sure. But mate, we had a really cool house, but we were between two pubs. The Belvedere Hotel and the it's called something Coco or something hotel, and we had to take turns in which place we'd go to, because we go there too much, they'd look at us like we're there too often. So, or we go to that one because we went to that one yesterday, this one today, that one tomorrow. We just had a good time. But he was so good for me, Stacey. People don't realise what a smart man he is, and just he's so genuine about the club. And him and Mark Robinson got me through some hell of a time. And but Stace, he took on the interim coaching for a period there, which he didn't need to, but he wanted to because it was going to help the club. And then, he was an amazing bloke to have in the club at the time, and he's an amazing man now.
The other point that I made earlier, which might be interesting to touch on, is as if this isn't all enough already, you start getting a bit of pressure from the NRL, because they're sponsored by Telstra, to split ways with Vodafone, who's now One New Zealand. But I think it's probably an interesting case study in both loyalty and brand, and the public all came around this and supported it, right, and sort of stopped it. I think the Telstra share price dropped as a result, and they kind of snuffed it out quite away. But was there anything interesting about it?
Well, you make a really valid point. To feel like that we've, on our knees then, and we're doing it tough. We haven't got a fan base. We haven't got a home base. We haven't got family. We have all the above things that just make people unhappy in life. The club's bleeding money, and without Robbo, we wouldn't be here. But the NRL then, with Telstra, decide to invoke a condition of our contract license with the NRL that, where they approve all the partnerships and to protect people like Telstra. They decided that was the appropriate time to pull the trigger on it and send me an email and say, oh, by the way, you can't renew a Vodafone due to Telstra's relationship with the NRL. And it was just like, in a way, I just accepted it. I just went, oh, here we go. No, that's okay. That's just another thing. No problem. We might as well stay on rock bottom for a bit longer. And I sort of thought about it, and I went back to the NRL and challenged them on it, and they weren't going to move. I said, okay, well, there's a number of ways we can play this, and I just been around the block a few times, and I thought, well, we've got a lot of support in Australia at this point in time, particularly in the NRL space. I thought if they were aware of what was going on, we could get some support here. So somehow it landed in the press, and it just went
somehow
it just went to another level. Yeah. And their switchboard at Telstra went ballistic, and their share price and everything, their whole brand damage was just through the roof. And it wasn't, we weren't going at them for that reason, but it was just at really poor timing for that discussion to take place, but to actually finally impose that condition upon us. And so the reality was both the Telstra CEO and Jason Paris, Vodafone, they got on like a house on fire. They discussed it. It was fine. So after all the head banging that we had to go through, in the end, we came up with an agreement that Vodafone / One New Zealand will be retained as long as they wish to be retained as a sponsor. But it was a really big kick in the guts that we had to go through that, given everything we'd gone through. But yeah, we learnt we were certainly everyone's second team, put it that way, that weren't a Warriors fan.
And it's one of the longest standing sort of sponsorship partnerships in sport.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah. Has that strength, not that it needed strength, but it must have brought you closer together.
It has. And Jason Paris, the CEO, is an absolute avid fan. He's fascinated by our club. He loves everything about the club and what we're doing and where we're going. And I lean on him a lot for a lot of things and advice. And he, he's a great operator, but the brand's just so connected to us, and both ways. It's a true partnership, which is something we're very proud of.
Just before we land, and there's glorious scenes at Mount Smart Stadium, there's an interesting footnote, because at the same time you're in Australia juggling all these challenges of the NRL, you're actually the chair of New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing, trying to keep that industry afloat at the same time. Yeah. Like, you want to throw a few more plates there to spin while you're in Australia? Like, how the hell did you manage that part of it as well?
It was you're right. It was. I forgot.
It was a lot.
That. Yeah. I used to get up at like 5 a.m. to do the racing stuff, 5 till 7, and then because it was obviously 7 to 9, so I'd get up, emails, all that sort of stuff, and we had equally all the challenges over here through your lockdowns and so on. But look, it was good people over here. Bruce Sharrock was the CEO, and he did a good job. We had a great board, and it didn't matter where we were in the world, because everyone was in remote comms anyway. So, I just got through it, mate, like everyone else, and the industry people was great. But I never affected the rugby league thing. I used to do one in the morning and one at night, and during the day it was all about the Warriors. And yeah, we got through it.
5 till 7 a.m. you save the racing industry, and then 7 until 11 you save the Warriors. The Warriors.
Oh, yeah. Well, usually 7 till 5 was players wanting to depart the club and coaches wanting to resign and all this sort of thing. And in the end, we ended up,
All right, land the plane back in New Zealand. 1,038 days later.
1,038 days. Yeah, talk to us about the build-up of that homecoming and just the vibes and the team, and because that's the other extreme of it, isn't it? It's all of the stuff you've been through.
Well, we had a few false starts with it. Year 3, when we ended up going to the third season, I didn't know whether we're ever. It just felt like we're just never going to be home again. And you started just questioning, where's this all going to land? But there started to get a few cracks in the travel openings that you could think, okay, there's a chance here. And I will admit, we were supposed to play Penrith, which was about 3 weeks before or 2 weeks before. That was a game that the NRL had earmarked for us to come back. And I looked at the draw and I said, fuck, we're not playing Penrith at home. And so I rang the NRL and I told a little bit of a porky and told them that, look, I'm getting mail out of New Zealand that there's a little bit of a risk with travelling at that time.
So good.
But if we can get a few more weeks up our sleeve,
that's amazing.
It'll be a lot better and more clearer on whether, because we wouldn't want both teams to be stuck over there, you know. And they okay, yeah, all good. Well, you be obviously talking to the right people and all this. So I'm telling you, I'm just giving you the heads up. And they said, well, okay, well, what about the West Tigers? I said, yeah, that'll be the weekend. And I thought, well, I'm not playing the Premiers first up like that. And I'm not saying the West Tigers were going to be easy either, because the challenge was going to get anyone up. But I just didn't want the challenge of the Premiers for one, and two, we're going to sell it out anyway, so it didn't matter. And so we locked in that, and this, for the moment we locked it in and we got clarity. I remember the week leading into it, it was special because Stacey was our coach, and I thought there's no better leader to take us home than Stacey Jones. So I felt really proud for him. Two, you could sense in the players that they'd just gone to another level. If you could have a bet as a CEO of a footy club, I would have put the house on us to win that game. And then C, it was about just making this experience and the event the most memorable we can for various reasons. And so one of the first things we want to do is replicate the out of the tunnel as we did 95. So we had to set all that up and all that, which was brilliant. I think that made the day, to be fair. I think that was just outstanding. And then the week it felt like it took a year. You know, by the time we landed, every day felt like it was 48 hours a day. Like, it was just slow. So it was just a long week because we weren't playing till Sunday. We had dinner with our sponsors and everything, and it was just that day turning up. It rained a little bit in the morning, and then the sun come out, and the crowd, they just turned up their droves. And people often ask me about it, and I say that day was different. 95 was a celebration. It was a celebration of this new team in the NRL and all this sort of thing. But this day was emotional because we'd sacrificed so much, and finally these guys' team was home. So there was an emotional sort of connection to the day opposed to being just celebrating it. And, it meant so much to the team to be home with their family, their friends, their fans, and it meant so much for the fans to finally be able to go and watch their team. And when they come out of that tunnel, I just went and stood on the edge of the ground. I just wanted to be on ground level to see and feel it. And, Tohu leading out that, Shaun Johnson. And, Shaun he nearly gave it away a month before that. And I remember Stacey and I at a coffee shop with him, and we said, mate, we're going home in a month. You need to be a part of this. Even that game kept Shaun together, thankfully, because he went on to 23 and had a massive year. But that's how important that homecoming was. Even Shaun was struggling. But that game was a motivator to keep him going. That's how much it meant to so many people. And we won.
Yeah.
And Tohu scored a try. It was awesome. Unreal.
That is, what a ride, eh? Like, you do forget about it, and then it's just what an incredible combination of years. But do you feel like I said at the start, was that the making of you as a leader, like everything that you went through there?
I don't think it was a making. I think it proved that you could be a leader. and I sort of got more belief out of it then. The making starts when you're growing up with the right people, right family around you, the right value, all that stuff, right family, friends as you get older, bosses, all that. That makes you. This actually, for me, this sort of proved it that I'm okay to lead people, and then you're not scared of anything. It must have been. Then after that, you're like, well, nothing's going to be a problem now.
Yeah. Well, one thing that COVID period did, it honed. You probably already had the innovation element, but it honed it even more. And we want to dip out of rugby league and go back into racing for a second. And can you take us to Coogee Beach and having a couple of scoops and coming up with the idea of the Kiwi, the NZB Kiwi?
Yeah,
because that's again, you've got a blank piece of paper and you go, oh, let's make the biggest race that there is in New Zealand and create a sporting event.
Yeah, well, I've always been crazy thinking. Even when I'm a young kid, just always trying to think of something different to what the norm is and how do you make money out of it. And, racing's no different, and you got to innovate, you got to be new, you got to be great and brave and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes you just got to put your head on the block and go, this is what we're going to do. And we were at Coogee Bay Beach at a meeting, and I was there with the Entane crew, Lachlan Fitt in particular, and we were just having a beer and we come up with this concept, and then we just drove it from there and we changed it, and I sort of, made it very different to what traditionally happens around the world with this type of concept race, and where we had the auction for the slots instead of, just inviting expressions of interest and all that. And it all worked, it all went great, and it was a great event last year, and it's got bigger and better this year. And it's when you work in sport, you got to be moving all the time and satisfying different generations and inspiring and attracting people's interests, both sponsors and fans. And, as leaders, we're responsible for creating an environment for people to be brave with their thinking. And I love leading in that area. And, I always challenge ourselves. And the NZB Kiwi is a great innovation for sport, New Zealand and lone racing. And it's the richest race over here, and they're probably the richest 1.5 minutes of sport. So, it's great. It's going to put New Zealand on the world stage.
But it's fleshed out into a whole day. Last year was the first running, and it's Champions Day, isn't it? The Kiwi is one of the races across the whole day. Yeah,
that's right. So as part of that, we reviewed the whole racing calendar and all that. And one thing I learned from footy is, not every game's popular. Not every game's going to sell out. Not every game attracts the most eyeballs on TV. But if you can make your big events bigger, like, say, your Origins and, when the Warriors play the Broncos here or wherever it be, or whatever it is, the big events, if you can make them bigger and put innovation in them, they just keep growing. They just do. And so we created a day event where we've got other major races on the day. And look, that in years to come, that will, with further investment from racing, hopefully, that will become just massive for New Zealand and the economy and the racing industry. So the NZB Kiwi is part of that, but it's a big event, and they just got to keep fueling that, because you can't grow small events. They just don't happen. You want state of origin, you just keep feeding them, and they'll keep growing.
And this year, was it you that kind of looked at? You've already said that you've got a keen eye on the draw a lot of the time, but is it you that kind of looked at the different sports that are operating in Auckland, circled them and go, hang on, guys, there's something here. There's something here.
I asked, knowing full well 12 months ago or 6 months ago when the date was for the NZB Kiwi and Champions Day at Ellerslie, one of my requests, we get 2 requests a year, was to put a Friday night game on or a Sunday game on. But then when I looked at the Auckland FC's draw, they were on Sunday against Perth Glory, so I requested the Friday night, which we got. So we play the Roosters on the Friday night, and the Blues are playing Crusaders Saturday night. The races are on Saturday, and Auckland FC Sunday. So when that all married up, but I went after the Friday night. When I saw that, I got the team together and said, guys, we've got to try and promote this. And so New Zealand Tourism, everyone got involved, and that's great. It's going to be great for Auckland.
But are you ringing Nick Becker and now Carl Budge? And
Carl's on holiday somewhere then, I don't know. But certainly Nick Becker, we work closely with those guys, and Auckland Thoroughbred Racing and Paul Wilcox, they just all jumped on board.
I want to pull us out to current day, January 2026, and it was announced, a week or so ago, that the Warriors were sold out 5 months in advance of the first home game. Take us to now. Like, what is going on? Like, this hasn't happened before. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing trust in our brand, and I think that journey through COVID helped us show people that we care through a lot of decisions we made. And when we came back, we really focused on connecting with New Zealand and our fan base, but New Zealand in general. We went really heavy into the community, really engaged with schools. And I had a philosophy at the point in time that I thought we'd lost a bit of a generation of fans, not only through COVID, just through poor performance and the like. So spoke to the staff around, let's go after, every 16 and below year old in New Zealand and make them New Zealand Warriors fans. And if we can achieve that in the next couple of years, we'll just have them sitting in our stands. They become decision makers. But at that point in time, if they fell in love with us, they're going to bring mum and dad. They're going to have to go and buy tickets for their kids and so on and so on. So we sort of grew it that way, got a really big social media presence through a great team of people, and just we really focused on putting the team back into the laps of the fans and New Zealanders. And, it's worked with our partners, Sky and One New Zealand, everyone else. And now we're just seeing, we've sold out 29 games and 31 games we've had at Mount Smart, Go Media. And then you see Christchurch selling out 5 months out. We're nearly sold out for our first 2 games already. We're a month out, 6 weeks out. So there's a real appetite for us. But we have the best team of staff putting on an event. Before, people would come and watch the Warriors play from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock and just focus on the game and focus on the result. Now we've created an event that you come for the whole night. And with doing so, yes, you're going to cheer on the Warriors. Yes, you'll be disappointed or excited if they win or lose, but it's not the be-all and end-all of your experience at the One New Zealand Warriors game. And that's something we're really proud of as a group of staff.
There's been a lot of commentary on the show over the years about the difference between, what rugby league and what the Warriors doing well and what rugby potentially isn't. And it's the fan. It's putting the fan first, in my opinion. It's you guys have nailed it, and that's why you're seeing the growth. Whereas what I see in rugby is they're not putting the fans first. You're not getting that same experience, and it comes through so clear. But I'd heard one of your colleagues might have sort of half jokingly have said, Warriors are often referred to as a sports entertainment business that also has a footy club. It's like that just shines through, right? And that's how you get the results.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things through COVID that we experienced was losing that fan connection. So that's why we've doubled down on the way back and sort of got a bit innovative about the generation we went after, the younger one that are now filling our stands and so on. But yeah, we're in the sports, we're in the entertainment industry, but we are just a footy club. We just want to win footy games and have fun. And let's not overanalyze it. We don't want to corporatise it too much or anything like that. We will, we carry New Zealand on our shoulders, and we are so desperate to win it for them. So first and foremost, we've got to be good people and a good footy club, and all the fun around that. We're working on that to get bigger and better. Hopefully we continue to sell out, and even people in Australia talk about coming over for a weekend to go to the Wales games. It's cool.
That Up the Wires is probably the most concrete example of how the fans have just claimed something, because that's not a Warriors marketing strategy, is it? Up the Wires.
Yeah.
Sorry. Must be like that.
Finally revealed.
Must be like when Vodafone got into the public sphere.
No, I don't know. Shaun tells me he did it, SJ. He did say it after a game once, but it's funny, I got asked to go and speak at a sports conference in Melbourne, and that was all like around the strategy around Up the Wires, and I refused to go. I said, I'm not accepting, the offer to come. I said, but we don't know where it came from. I said, but it's the greatest example of your fan. You can spend millions of dollars on marketing, but if your fans take control of something, they become your greatest ambassadors, advocates, marketers, all that sort of thing. So Yeah, no one knows where it come from. So
Let's Go On Warriors is the other one I like as well.
but we're proud of it, and it's something that's it's really connected with us.
The other thing that's come shining through in the research is your passion for the women's side. Can you tell us about what's happening with the Warriors?
Is Hamilton going to stay the home?
Yep. Yeah, so we've got 2 games down here this year. And we were in the competition in 2018. We were in the inaugural NRLW competition, and obviously we had to pull the pin on that due to COVID. So it was really an ambition of mine to get an NRLW team back in the competition, but we also had to be careful in getting the club set up first before we did so, and so on and so on. And I'm in awe of them. Like, we got the best coach in Ron Griffiths, who's won a couple of premierships. But you meet any one of those women that play for us, they are the most inspiring athletes you ever wish to meet. Like, they're so excited and ambitious to wear that jumper. I genuinely feel like they will create a fan base that's going to be far and wide and as passionate as what any other male team in the competition has. And that's a little bit of the reason why we identified Hamilton as a place, because I wanted to give these ladies a chance to be their own, not just be the team that played before the NRL team on Friday night or Sunday afternoon. I wanted people to buy a ticket to come and see these girls play, and I wanted our players to feel like they did buy the ticket to come and see us play, not to come and see the NRL team. And we were averaging 7,500 people here a game last year in awful conditions, most games, and it just demonstrated how much women's sport is growing. This country should be extremely proud, whatever sport it is. In the women's sector, it's huge. But the fact that we've got a footy team that these girls can wear the same colours as the men, but also create the same fan base in another stadium, is a pretty cool experience to have as a club. And, I feel like this year I go to another level, and I genuinely believe this year we're a huge chance of winning this competition.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that. It's a race between the two sides, isn't it, as to who's going to be the first to lift the premiership title?
Yeah. Well, technically, the women will always win because they play their grand final at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So they'll always have that.
It's good.
That over the men now, and trust me, they're smart enough to realise that too, and they'll always claim to be the first premiership winning Warriors team if they both happen to win on the same night.
A few sort of diehard questions for the Warriors faithful out there. I'd say it could be said in the past Warriors have struggled to lure top Australian talent to New Zealand, but that's recently changed. You've got Metcalf re-signing and Barnett and Capewell. Do you think that's a sign of a change in thinking?
Yeah, I think like Andrew Webster, he's an amazing coach, but a better person. And that's not just, he's a great coach, don't get me wrong, but he's, first and foremost, he's just a champion person. And as soon as you shake Webby's hand, you feel a connection. And then when we talk to people about coming to our footy club, Webby has to have a one-on-one phone call with them or a meeting, coffee with them, whatever it be, because don't care how good the player is, he needs to connect with them first. And when that connection happens, they'll move across the world to play for him. And we're finding now that our greatest ambassadors are your Mitch Barnetts, your Luke Metcalfs and Kurt Capewells, and you continue on, and they come here and their game has just gone to another level under Webby, and players notice that. They sit in another team, and the Warriors want to talk to you. Yeah, shit, yeah. Look, he's made Barney a Origin Australian player. Cape is still playing Origin. All the Kiwis we've got in our teams. All the young kids are playing for Tonga or Samoa They made their debuts for the Kiwis this year, like in the All-Stars. We're littered with rep players because of Webby and the club's coaching. So it's easier when you got that as a draw card than, sometimes in history will show when we're not winning and not having players in rep teams and all that, players go, not so much. But the other thing we do, Andrew McFadden is our recruitment cappy, our recruitment manager. He's really good on and very, very strong on making sure that we get the player and his wife and or partner, whoever, over for a weekend. Because if you're coming to play the Warriors for, say if you're playing for Manly, you fly in on Saturday or Friday afternoon, we've got a Saturday game, Friday afternoon you get off the plane, you go straight to the Pullman Hotel, it's pissing down rain, you wake up Saturday, it's wet, cold, windy, you go out to Mount Smart, middle of industrial estate, you get yelled at, you get screamed at, you get bashed around, you have to walk up 100 flights of stairs, you're back on the bus, You go back home, you recover, you get in the plane the next morning, you go home and you say to your missus, I'm not going back there, that's just too hard. That's your experience of Auckland. But when you get them over here another time and you put them in the car and you take them to Mission Bay, take them to St. Helens, take them to Devonport, like, wow, I didn't know this was Auckland. And they truly love it once you expose it to them. So it's getting easier for those said reasons.
But it's also an interesting push-pull because you want to be promoting your own player pathways, I imagine, as well. And, it is a New Zealand team. So I guess, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I wonder whether there's a desire to have all players having come through that pathway in the Warriors.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we're investing millions of dollars into our six teams. And absolutely it is. But at different points, you're going to have a gap where you might have to attract a player from the outside. But all in all, it's $3-4 million a year invested into our pathways. So your salary cap works better for you when your younger kids are coming through than buying from the outside. But that said, you're always going to have Kiwis that want to come home as well. So it's not always about Aussie players coming back. Like Aaron Clark's a great example.
When you look at the players that the women's team have recruited this year, I imagine a lot of those decisions are the opportunity to play in front of friends and family here in New Zealand.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's the plan, but you're most likely always going to bring one or two back occasionally, but very proud of our kids in our pathway system.
I heard you tell a great yarn of signing James Fisher-Harris.
Yeah, Fish. That was quick.
And unknown, like really under the radar. Can you retell that?
Yeah, so we got a call on the Sunday and Webby and I spoke and it become a pretty positive discussion, and James had just been to see his club and said that he would like to come home, and Ivan's got a great relationship, not only with Webby but with the club and so on. So this is on Sunday afternoon. Monday morning, I'm on the phone, CEO, Penrith, manager, and working through what it looks like. And I still hadn't met James at all by this stage, so it flies in the face of all this stuff, but he knew Webby, obviously. And so we went through the negotiations of, when I say negotiations, it was pretty black and white.
Do you want to come home? Yes.
Yeah, exactly right. And thankfully we're the only club here, so it was the only option. So, but you still got to go through the NRL and get all this approval and all this sort of thing. And the worry I had was once you start talking outside the CEO of Penrith and the manager, more people start to know and get out, then you lose control of it. Anyway, so all got it endorsed. I got the contract done Monday afternoon. It was in printed off. I was on a flight Tuesday morning early, me and Andrew McFadden. Went to the Novotel at Brighton Sands, met James, his lovely wife Nat, the kids, signed the contract, back on the plane that afternoon. It just exploded. And no one, people were more pissed off they didn't know, as in like the press. And then they started questioning the legitimacy of it and all this sort of thing, and how above board this negotiation and all that. But genuinely, as I've spoken to a few of them and tell them how it unfolded, to your point, like really there wasn't many options. Like he said, it's not like he said, I want to go home to Brisbane. He got the Gold Coast, Brisbane, Redcliffe. New Zealand was his, we were obviously the only option. So, and we were able to accommodate him because Adam Fanua-Blake had departed, and he knew Webby, and it was very quick, but we were very privileged to work with James and Nat and his manager and get it done.
It must be an amazing feeling. I have someone told you that by the end of the week you will have James Fisher-Harris signed. You're like, well, how's that going to happen?
Well, it's funny because we got the leadership group in at the Warriors, and we're very transparent with them and everything we do. And Webby said, we'll get the boys in, we'll just talk to them, we'll give them the heads up. We don't want them to read it. And there was Shaun and whoever else was there, and mate, they just could not believe it. That was on the Monday afternoon before I flew out Tuesday morning. That's how much we trust our group. Our club is kept that in-house. And they were just, even Shaun, I think, was thinking about going around for an extra year. But I said, no, I'm using your money to get him, so get out. But, yeah, they were pumped. Just inspired. He's such a, we've got great leaders in that group with Barney and him and Wade Egan, and they just help the young kids like you wouldn't believe.
I'm going to nerd out, sorry, just a little bit, because Shaun Johnson is an interesting case study as well, who left the club and then came back again.
Yeah, that was a fuck up for me. That was a big lesson learnt. I was pretty black and white with that, and when he left in 2019, I just played that one wrong, completely wrong. However, then there was the opportunity to get him back, and I hadn't spoken to Shaun from the minute we said it's over, and I always knew he'd be filthy on me and so on, and I always sort of wanted to ring him and say, I stuffed this up, mate, but I thought no, I didn't want to give him that. But then we got the chance to get him back. He played golf with Robbo because he's good mates with his son-in-law, Logs, and so on, and there was a bit of he hadn't been signed, and Gus Gould was with us at the point in time, and Gus said, well, why don't you come back here? And I think he thought that we wouldn't want him back and I wouldn't want him back and so on, so Gus rang me and I said, no, I'd love to have Shaun back. I said, leave it with me, I'll ring him. And so I rang Shaun, and he answered the phone, and I just said, mate, I'm just going to start by saying sorry. I'm just going to start by saying let's talk more about the apology another time. I said, but I just want to let you know I would love nothing more than to have you back at the club. And Fisher's signing was pretty quick, but this was quicker.
Wow.
They just wanted to come home, and the poor bugger, because he'd been separated by COVID, we then had to take him back to Australia, and that was quite hard for Shaun and his family. And but yeah, that was a interesting story about letting him go. But I was just so glad we brought him back, and I really respect Shaun, and he's a very good human, Shaun. I think he's an exceptional man, and he's got some very good values that I think a lot of people don't probably experience, but I have.
Isn't the power of an apology so strong? Just leading with, I just say sorry. And it's like all is forgiven or forgotten.
Exactly. And I honestly, I wanted to ring him for 3 years and apologise, but I just didn't think it was worth the while to do it at that point. But to do it in those circumstances was great because there was an outcome that I knew he'd be so excited about.
Cam, we are sponsored by the legends at Barker's, so they dress us for every episode. So we always ask our guests a fashion-related question. I think some brief research before this suggested there might have been 59 Warriors jerseys.
At 2019.
At 2019. Did you have a favourite? Any spring to mind?
Not a favourite as such. I do like our white Wars jumpers when we have them. I just feel like that they're just nice. They look classy and everything. But look, at the end of the day, they represent, most of our jumpers represent something. And, whatever we win in is my favourite on the day. That's I can tell you that. But, our colours are good.
The other fashion question I had was the bucket hat. Bucket hat is huge in the rugby league fraternity. Can I say fraternity? You shouldn't. You say community. What's your stance on it? You wear a bucket?
I love the bucket hats. No, they're good. The boys love them. They're good for them to train in, but I reckon they're great for our fans and everyone. They're great. I think they really connect with our club and our fans.
Has the club got hard and fast rules on travelling overseas attire? Like, is there a proper overseas trip wear?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, we've got gear for all sorts of things. So one of it's travel. So they know what to travel in, shorts or tracksuits, a polo shirt. There's 2 polos, so one's a travel, one's corporate.
Can I just pause on polos? Is there any players that pop a collar on a polo?
He's trying to bring a popped collar.
I'm not trying to. It's back.
Yeah, the collars this year are the soft ones.
Oh, yeah. You can't pop one of those.
Pop them, but somehow the players are able to really create a new fashion with the kit that we have. There's always one player will do something different, and all of a sudden everyone starts doing it with
like popping their collar.
Correct. Somehow they'll find a way to do that with the soft collars, and next minute all the players will be doing it.
I want to talk briefly about some leadership in sport because the Warriors are quite a unique example, like we've talked about, where you work for one owner. Which presents its unique challenges. But what we're seeing is national sporting organisations turning over their leadership recently. And actually, we spoke to Andrew Gordy in this. I'm going to bring his comments in and sort of see what you think. He's suggesting that what you're doing is you can build something at a club where you're focusing on your fans, whereas the problems with a New Zealand rugby or a New Zealand cricket is that they have a federated model. So you're trying to look after the commercial side of the game, but then you've got to look after the grassroots of the game. You've got to look after the club game, the provincial game, the member associations, the provincial unions. And there are just too many parts to try and keep everyone happy when really you're being judged almost solely on the commercial performance of the business, and that's too much. And as it's perhaps proved, it's too much for Mark Robertson or Scott Wienik or Jenny Wiley, trying to do too many things. The suggestion or the question is maybe it's time for the federated model to split. But when you reflect on what you're seeing in other organisations and you think of the way that you've got it, is yours better? And do you have any sort of commentary on what we're seeing at the NSOs?
I'm worried about the state of sport in New Zealand from the top down. It's really sad to see that all of those sports have suffered, leadership loss and challenging times and the likes. I would encourage the powers to be to collectively get in a room and with a whiteboard and say, is there a way we can do this better in the future rather than trying to fix what we've done in the past? Because, it's a real concern that you've got cricket, rugby, netball and the likes all looking for CEOs and it's not a reflection of the governance, but we should be, just really humming along in sport in New Zealand and punching above our weight in the world stage, which we are, but are we doing now what's the best for the future, or are we just doing now what we've always done in the past and have the same structures? And that's racing the lot. I'm lucky because, we're privately owned. We don't have a board. It's Mark, me, Ken Ryansfield, and that's it. And Webby. Questions.
Move fast,
Move fast. Yeah. We just do our thing and get on with it. And we're in an Australian competition, just based in New Zealand. So our funding comes from, the Australian market in regards to broadcasting and all that sort of thing. So we're in isolation to the NSO challenges, but I really feel for them because I want to see sport across the board in this country just excel on all levels. That's why I would say, if the powers to be from government right through could get in the room with a whiteboard and say, can we do it, should we do it differently going forward? and what do we need to change to make it better? Like, because I just, those conversations could bring out a new structure of sport in this country that could, A, fund it better, and B, sort of negate the challenges that they're all feeling right now, which are financial, stressful, and infrastructure challenges really around the country.
Your stock is obviously high, and there was a story a little while ago that you were linked to the NZRU CEO role. First of all, is
that you?
No, it wasn't me. It was Seamus. Yeah.
I'm no longer. I've never been in the media.
No.
Yeah, anything there?
No.
I did wonder if when Mark Robinson reads in the Sydney Morning Herald that Mark Robinson is leaving NZA, like, is he going, hey?
No, Robbo, he
Which one?
Even I'm not too sharp. I'm not sharp enough to take that job. But no, my heart and soul and everything's with the Wars. I just want to win this premiership for the guys. But yeah, look, to my point though, I just hope that the whole sporting landscape here, gets the leaders they deserve, and we all improve.
We won't keep you much longer. This has been epic. But I just want to touch on family before a few big questions at the end. Can you just take us inside how old, if it's all right to talk about your daughter, how old is she?
She's 8, Stella Rose.
8, yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm a late sire.
Hey, I've got a particular interest in this because I've got my 7-week-old at home, and I'm 43.
Mate, I know
So-
everything about father.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be very good friends after this because I'm going to be coming to you for tips.
Yeah, Stella Rose, my partner Emma, she's from Australia, and so yeah, we've got Stella Rose, which those two are just amazing to me, my career, and the person I am today. And she's everything to me, Stella Rose. Everything I do now is with her in the back of my mind, and so on. And Emma just gives me the support I need to do what I have to do, which is a lot of travel, a lot of long days or whatever it be. And very much appreciate both of them, but particularly Emma for that, and Stella for keeping me on my toes.
It's funny, like, again, there's been themes that have bled through all the conversations we've had with different people, and unanimously it was like Stella Rose, absolute apple of Cameron's eye, and you physically, visibly light up when you think about her and talk about her in this conversation, more so than some of the other things. It's wonderful to see. Yeah,
I'm just blessed. I didn't think I'd ever be in this situation, but yeah, as I said, a bit of a late starter, but best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, I can only echo those statements too.
I've got about 6 questions here. Give them as much or as little as you want. We can trim them out if you don't have good answers. But the first one, what does switching off look like for you now? Because the reports we've had is that you're kind of always on. You're always on a phone, and the mind is always ticking. But do you proactively try to switch off, and how do you do it?
Stella Rose is probably my greatest get-out clause. I've got to get better at that, switching off. I tell you what I do, and I like going to have a bash of golf, and I love my horse racing. I just switch off watching the races, having a punt, and all that sort of thing, and catching up with friends. But I really enjoy. I do a lot of cooking, and particularly away, like smoking meat and all that sort of thing. I'm fascinated by it for some reason, and I spend hours just on my own having a beer and just mucking around with stuff like that. So that's good, but that takes hours to do. But I really enjoy that sort of stuff. But I just hang with the family.
Have you got to find a new butcher though?
Yeah, I do. I will have to start.
That's a shame.
It is. The old Drury Meats was my man, and but anyway, we might have to find a new one very soon.
Have you got a go-to meat that you do like to? I was going to say play with, and then I thought that's going to get clipped out. But have you got a go-to meat?
Pretty versatile.
Yeah,
very versatile.
Do you find if you are working on smoking something and it takes a long time, that by the time it's actually finished, you're like, I don't even really want to eat it?
I hate when it's cooked.
Yeah. It's the process
enjoy
of
the
doing
process so much that when it's cooked, fuck, now I've got to go and sit down with people and eat it. But that's a really chilled out sort of thing that I've got into in the last few years, and really investing in it, to be honest.
If Stella Rose in the future was to come to you and say, how do I live my life well, what's a 60-second answer that you might give to her?
Just be honest, have fun, and just get good people around you. That's it.
What does it mean to be successful?
Well, there's so many ways you can measure it, but it's, again, I think the success is the people you got around you. Like, how many people do you see so successful and they're so lonely? Or you can have the greatest family and friends wrapped around you through good and bad times. To me, I'd rather go to my grave with that than be that person that's just been this whoever, leader of whatever it be, but have no one wrapped around you. No, the success is when you're having a hard time, you got a mate. That, to me, is the greatest measure of success on and off the field.
If the Warriors did win that elusive premiership, I think you're only one of three sides that, on the men's side that hasn't won it before, but would that be a way to sign off your time there?
Oh, that would, no, I want to go again for sure. That would be an accomplishment, an achievement of all the hard work we've done, but it's certainly not the end of the road. Like, yeah, for me, the next challenge would then be, how do you do it again and back it up, and how do you grow as a business? And that's the key is, we've got pubs now, we've got real estate, we're growing our revenue base at package-wise. We want to get bigger and bigger, and winning a premiership will help us, ignite that.
I do like that diversification of revenue. Like, you want to be, I think I saw somewhere you want to fund the football program through non-football activities one day is kind of one of the goals of the organisation, right?
Yeah, that's it. We just bought another building in the North Shore, and so we just want to keep developing it and create a portfolio of revenue that will ultimately fund the footy club and keep Robbo's money in his pocket, and we make good money, and everyone's happy.
Are you a believer in manifestation? Because I've sort of heard you've got it all planned out when you do win the premiership. You've got sort of timelines for everything. Is that manifestation?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we've got it worked out. I've had plenty of time to work it out. I've had 7 years of it. Webby and I have actually worked it out. So it's going to be a good couple of days. And then I do believe in that, because I genuinely believe you got to plan for it. And once you plan for it, all you got to do is execute it. It's much easier to execute something you plan for.
A couple of tricky ones to potentially to end. Do you have a most painful feedback that you've had that turned out to be true and that you've learned and grown from?
I think years ago you'd accept that all feedback was painful, but the minute you can accept feedback, doesn't matter what it is, it's there to improve you. So if I go back to my 20s through to 30s, if someone want to give you feedback, I'd be offended by it. Where I gradually started to learn that feedback wasn't that critical. It was actually feedback to make you better, and it's one of our true values in our organisation that we live by every day is honest feedback. And a lot of people think, honest feedback is in our environment as, receiving feedback and all that sort of thing. But what the best thing about that feedback is in our environment is we want to have people have the confidence to be able to give it. It's more important to be able to give it than receive it. And when you've got that environment for people to do that, feedback becomes very positive. And so no one's scared of it, and I'm now not scared of it. So there's not particularly one, it's just in general. And Dave Rennie taught me about all this during COVID. I used to catch up with him about the whole culture thing. He was mind-blowing, that man, about what he taught me.
These are great answers. I've got one more. What do you want less of in your life over the next decade?
No, probably less talk.
You're going to have to do one of these again.
No more interviews this year.
I think I just wish people would just, this day and age, emails are this long and people aren't talking. When they get together to talk about something, they ramble on like it's an email and all this sort of thing, because communication's just changed so much these days. And, I just want people to be able to understand what they want and just less talk and get on with it. I think we'd all be a better place. You look at politics, all the talking and talking and talking. There's the problem. Get the solution and get on with it.
That's your leadership in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just get on with it.
Exactly. So let's talk.
I want to read us out with some words from Glenn Harris, who's the Chief Operating Officer at the Warriors. And again, I asked him to describe you and what makes you different and special, and this is what he said. He's the ultimate competitor. He wants to win at everything. He's determined. He is innovative to the point where sometimes it doesn't make sense, but then you sit back and see the genius in it. The thing that has struck me more and more about working closely with Cameron, as opposed to distance as a sponsor, is he's got this unwavering belief in people. Despite what you might see on camera and on TV and as a persona, I guess that might come across as a very brash and not arrogant but determined person. He's got such a soft side to him. He loves people. He believes in people unconditionally. He backs people and he leads them into battle when they follow up. So the thing that I love most about Cameron is it's always people first before anything else. People and purpose before profit. People, he's always said, are the company's biggest source of competitive advantage, and he backs them unconditionally. That's the only thing, I guess, that's not readily obvious through his personality and his mannerisms and his character, is that he cares so deeply about people. And all he wants from the strange old ride we have is to make Kiwis proud of their club.
That's, mate. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's people. And you can't do it without them. And I've tried. It doesn't work. You do it with them. It's a hell of a fun ride ahead when you got the right people around you.
Is this our year?
Mate, every year we go into this conversation with the press, with the media, with the fans. I genuinely feel we are ready for it.
Cam, this has been epic. It's been an epic. I mean, we were so excited about this episode, and it's delivered. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing so much of yourself and your life and your history and the way your brain works. Our listeners are going to love it as much as we did. So, yeah, we really appreciate your time, and, yeah, it's been awesome.
All good. Appreciate it, boys. Thank you.